How to make a site logistics plan early in construction. In this video, what I'm going to talk about is not just logistics in general. I talk about that all the time. And I talk about logistics plans. I'm sorry if I've been boring you. But here's the deal. We have to get mobilized quickly to our first areas. And so I'm recommending that we have a logistics plan specifically for like the first 120 days. Now, let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. Once the structure is going up and everything's set up and your trailers are set up, everything's a jam. But we all know that the first 120 days are typically pretty difficult. Number one, if you're in a basement or a postage stamp site, you've got to do a day-by-day analysis and get into that basement or into those foundations and up through the structures with limited space. So that's one of the key things. Another thing is you might be on a site where it's not postage stamp, but you have all kinds of things going on. I'll give you an example. On our project, we have building 1, 2, 3, and then 4 for the first phase, and there's site utilities everywhere. So we've already talked to you about the importance of doing that day-by-day, week-by-week analysis, but the key is how do we mobilize and get to that first building pad so we can start foundations and start structure. So that early logistics plan has got to be able to get the earthwork folks right into that pad, get any of the engineered fill over to that pad, make sure we have pad certification, access for the foundations to begin, and our trailer. Typically we're in like a temporary mobile mini to do a little bit of free advertising, right? So that first 120 days probably deserves its own logistics plan. So I'm going to go to my computer right now and show you what I'm talking about so you can do the same thing on your project. Okay, everybody, I'm excited to be with you on this video about how to create a logistics plan early in construction. And I've got some sketches here and some references that I want to show you that I'm pretty excited about this. So let me go ahead and get my pen and I'm going to draw here a little bit. So if you're doing a project like we are, right, you're going to need to connect with your temporary water, right? You're going to want to come over to some existing electrical infrastructure and set up your service entry section into the building or into the actual project for your temporary power. Probably you're going to want to mobilize immediately and get to your first building pad. I know that we're doing that. We need to get to our first building pad. So what we want to do is find out if we can get to this first area with a laydown and make sure that we can go and survey the corners of the building, do the pad certification, and kick off the structural phase of that building while we're moving in this direction for site utilities, right? So there are some real benefits to saying, what's the logistics plan just for the first 3 months, right? So you have the typical things over here, right? You have your markups, your symbols, clear drawing, but this is basically like mobilize to the front. How do we get to our first critical activities on our critical chain or our path of critical flow so that we can enable the rest of the project? And understanding that is crucial because you're going to see how your grading affects your site utilities, how it affects your structural phase. It's absolutely 100%. And so what we're going to do on this project is to use this map to make sure that all the trades understand clearly what we're doing and how we're going to mobilize to the front, to coin a phrase. So let me show you a couple of tools that I want to make sure that you know about that are available to you at any time. Okay, so one of the first tools that I want you to have is the list, right? If you're doing a logistics plan and you want to make sure you have everything incorporated, especially to mobilize to those first critical areas, I want to make sure that you have this list. Now, we're going to add this in the description below. This list has been put together over a lot of years from a lot of different experts, and it's used to trigger you to see where all of these things are located. Anything done well could save you $1,000, $10,000, $50,000. We don't want to be moving things on the project site. We want them to go to one location where they ought to be well thought out. Another tool that I want to take you to is these logistics rules. I'm just opening it up in Canva. I hope that you all don't mind that. But basically what it is, if you actually open up the file, you'll see on the front page I have this example. And then here are some rules to keep in mind. This was a LinkedIn post once, but we go rule by rule. There's 1 through 19, I believe. And yep, rule rule number 19, I want you to go through the logistics rules. We're going to include this in the description below, but basically what I want to say, and this isn't talked about very often, there are 19 key rules for logistics planning that you have to keep in mind. Now, another resource I want to give you is our actual blog post. So if you go to the Elevate Construction website, and I'll actually show you how to go there. Let's say that you're all the way back on the front, and there's Brad Pitt. No, actually that's a picture of me. Sorry, everybody. Okay, so you go to your blog post, type in logistics, right? Let's see if I can do that while I'm recording a YouTube video. Okay, perfect. And then logistics is number one. When you click on this, you'll see that we have the same stuff, a nice example over here, the lists, right? And then here's something super cool. I hope you love it. There is a template in Bluebeam for how to actually create these and toolbox objects so that you can actually use similar styles. Now, here's the deal. If you don't have any of these, we're more than happy to share this content with you and to even help you to create templates. The bottom line is when you're creating a logistics plan for the first part, and I'll actually go ahead and just get a little bit frisky over here with my stickies over here, like not in a bad way, but like I love me some stickies on Miro. Here are the priorities. You want to mobilize to your key areas, okay? That way you can start out properly, start your structural phase, start your foundations. That is absolutely key. And then you want to plan your infrastructure. So this is going to be your temp water, your temp power, and basically give everybody a vision for how you are going to mobilize on this project. And I'll add a third one. You want to start strong. You're not going to pick up time very easily later on in the project when you have 40 dependent contractors, but you can early on, and we don't want to be moving things around. So we definitely want to have a logistics plan early on. So I'm going to give you an image of this, the blog post. I'm going to give you both of those documents that I referenced by way of lists and rules, and we're going to turn this into a blog post for you. But here's my hope, that you're able to do logistics planning with live documentation, meaning don't just put this up on the wall. Use this as a tool and get your people to their first area so you can take care of your critical chain and your path of critical flow. I hope you've enjoyed this video. On we go.